In this video, I'm going to give you a short tour of the studio where the anchors do their thing, where we have the cameras and the graphics rack. And I'm going to be showing you how to turn the lights on when you're done, how to turn them off, and how to run the cameras. The first thing is the graphics rack. This is where you have um, some of the consoles that basically controls the camera graphics and what they would look like if they are going to look a little red, blue, dim, or whatsoever. And this is basically how you turn it on. There's a button below the two screens here. You just turn it on and the system comes alive. The next part is how to turn the lighting on. So in the studio, there are two um, types of lighting. There's the main lighting, the one on the ceiling, and there are peripheral lightings. This console at the extreme end of the studio, when you're coming at your extreme left end, is the main lighting for the studio, and the only button you should be concerned with is this big master button here. When you push it up, the main light comes on, and that's it. Those two lights on the ceiling. Something to keep in mind when it comes to lighting: when you have put on this main lights, be sure to go close to the door and put off the ordinary light for the studio. Sort of interferes when we are making the shots. This is one of the peripheral lightings. We usually make use of, I think, the three of them in here. And when you've turned on the main lights, you walk down to the side. There's a button behind it. You turn it on. If it doesn't come on, check the extension to make sure it is actually plugged. And then you do the same for the second light over there. And there's a third one. The studio is sort of not arranged because it has been used for several purposes aside for the focus for the past few days. But basically, sometimes we could have four, but just to show you how to turn on the lights, you turn on the lights, there's a little button behind it. You go on there, turn on. For the three of the lightings, go turn them on and make sure they are properly set. So this is the first camera, and there's also a second camera just beside it. And on the first camera, you have to first of all turn it on. And the way you turn it on is there's a little button behind the little monitor just close to my hand here. There's a little button behind it. You turn the button on and the monitor comes on. You also turn the teleprompter on by holding it down. When you hold it down, it comes on as well. And that's exactly what you want to do. Then the camera has two handles, and that's how you zoom as well as focus on the anchor so you can make sure the video is very clear. On the right side of the handle, there's a zoom button. You move it to the left or to the right to zoom in or out. And on the second handle, just beneath the main handle, there's the focus handle where you have to just basically screw it to the left or to the right to get a proper focus and make sure that the anchor's face is clear. And the basic way you focus on the anchor is you zoom into his face totally, and then you frame it till it's clear, and then you zoom back out, and that's basically it. And when you're done with the camera for the day, you turn it off just as you did turn it on. And that's pretty much it. Now, when you turn the camera on, this is basically what you will see on the little monitor above it. And this is how you're going to frame your camera. One shot is like a guide. And then look at the handles, the zoom, the focus handle I told you about, and then the zoom button that I told you about as well. So the first thing you do if you're about to take a shot, you First of all, loosen this part of the camera. This is to allow free movement for tilting and panning, because you have to frame the anchors properly and then focus on them. So you can open them. This is opening, pushing them inside, you're opening them, pushing them outside, you are locking them. So you can see you're either taking it up, moving the camera up, down, and moving it left to the right. So you're basically tilting and panning. But for you to do that, you have to open up these two buttons right here. It's just below the camera. And when you've opened them, then you can now frame whoever it is anchoring the show. Sometimes you have to frame them properly. Sometimes you have some people who are taller than the others. So you have to make sure they're in the right frame. And when you've done that, the next thing to do is make sure you lock it in. Sometimes you don't really have to lock it in. It depends. If you're having a 2-camera show, there are certain cases where you don't need to lock it in. In some cases, you'll be instructed to lock it in, but just it's important for you to know how to lock it and how to open it so it moves freely for you to be able to tilt and pan. So if you're going to frame an anchor, let's say right now the anchor is that little guy seated on the seat. That's not my drawing, by the way. That was Steve's awesome drawing, basically. So if you're going to zoom and focus, you should have done this in one of your classes, but in case just you need a reminder, when you have the anchor seated and is ready to anchor, you zoom into the person's face. You zoom into the person's face, zoom in entirely, and then you focus. Make sure the focus is sharp as it can get. And when you've focused properly, you can then zoom out, and now you're ready to shoot for the show. All right?